Hello and good morning. I am feeling so much gratitude this morning for 2020. So much gratitude for 2020. Huh? What? I didn't hear what you said. 2020? Are you for real? I'm absolutely for real. I'm absolutely super thankful for the year and the opportunities that we have had these past few months. We're not quite through it yet, but we've got a couple months. But I'm feeling so much gratitude. And if you want to know why, stay with me. Tammy here. And on this channel, we talk about loving yourself, loving others, and being the best you're here to be. If that sounds like something you're interested in, come on in. Let's chat. So I recently asked on Facebook for ideas for my friends for a topic on my YouTube channel. What could I cover? What could I talk about? And the theme is loving yourself, loving others. I got a lot of great suggestions, but one that really stuck to me, it just struck something up here, was how to find gratitude or thankfulness or light in a really dark place. And she gave the example of 2020 and the pandemic. How to find that spot of goodness within that really difficult place. And this is it, isn't it? We all go through those dark places in our lives. It's not just 2020. We experience death, loss of a loved one. We experience job loss, loss of our home. We experience chronic disease. We experience divorce. We experience all these heavy things in our lives. And it just happened that 2020 brought us a collective experience of these dark places, brought us a collective experience of racial tensions, a collective experience of job loss, a collective experience of illness and disease, a collective experience of loss of a loved one, a collective experience of a lot of heavy energy. And we have seen the worst in each other. We have seen the worst in each other. We've experienced our, racial struggles. We've experienced our political, complete polarization of political ideologies, and just going at it like this. We've had it out. We have all had it out with somebody in our lives, and we've lost friends, we've lost relationships, we have struggled through hardship of having to be isolated, having to be alone during quarantines and lockdowns. We've experienced all this heavy energy, and we have felt it. So where's the gratitude in that? Where's the thankfulness? Where's the joy? Here's the thing, we can go about our lives and we can pretend. Let's take marriage. We can pretend that our marriage is great, that there's not a problem. We can distract ourselves with activities. We can distract ourselves with friends. We can distract ourselves with addictions. We can distract ourselves with other things and not focus on the problem, which is that we are not happy in our marriage. We can experience the loss of a loved one, and we can put on that smiley face, and we can throw ourselves out there, and we can post all the status updates that shows we are getting over it, we are moving through it, when in our hearts, we're a mess. In our hearts, we are on our floor crying into a Berber rug, as I say in one of my books. I'll leave that link down below, but we're on the floor crying into a Berber rug and filling up snotty tissue after snotty tissue, and it's not okay. We are not okay. And this is what 2020 has done for us. If we get a little spiritual for a minute, I don't mean religious right now, I mean spiritual. If we get a little spiritual and look at the collective whole as if it's an individual. So the collective whole this year has gone through a kind of a spiritual cleanse. We have brought all that. We've taken that smiley face off. We've wiped it off. Anybody who's gone through loss of a loved one or divorce or some other loss, you know that there are times when you're just a mess. Your face is a mess. There's makeup all over the place. There's tissues all everywhere. You know that happens, and that's what 2020's done for us. It brought everything to the surface. It said, get rid of that smiley face. That's not really a thing. You might be pretending that life is good, life is okay, but it's not. There's a lot of stuff going on here that we need to take a look at. Okay, so back up and go to the individual for a second. If you're in that unhappy marriage and you're going through your life pretending everything's okay, and you're okay, maybe you're not great, but you're not great. It's okay. And you go along like that, you will be okay. But you won't be great. You won't be happy. And you won't be as fully healthy as you can be. Okay? That's how we've been going along as a country. That's what's been happening. We paint that smiley face and sorry, my nose is just itching. And I think that in some like tarot reading things, that's like my guides are with me or whatever. I don't know if I believe that, but I'm feeling it right now. We are not okay. We have not been okay. All this racial tension that's been happening, that's been happening forever. Those racial struggles have existed forever. Things have never been okay. Never. All of the struggle with jobs and money and, stimulus checks and people losing their jobs and people trying to hang on to their jobs and people trying to get by, that's been forever. That's been forever. Those inequalities, I know people who work multiple jobs, they work their back ends off. They put in every effort they can put in, and they still cannot feed their families and pay their bills. And their bills aren't that outrageous. Food, rent, that kind of thing. They're not outrageous. These socioeconomic inequalities and struggles have existed forever. Okay? We've seen it from each other. We have felt it. It's gotten into our systems. Anxiety, depression, loneliness, loss of important relationships in our lives. Those have all happened this year. And those have all been very real and very heavy. And a lot of us have been there. We have felt that. But these things have existed. They're not new to 2020. These inequalities, these struggles, these tensions, they've existed. So why am I thankful for 2020? I'm thankful for 2020 because it helped us to see the problem. It helped us to say, hey, maybe it's time for a divorce from the way things have been and a new look at our lives. Maybe it's time for coming to terms with some of the things that have been happening in our country that maybe we've just glossed over, not looked at because they don't apply to us, they don't affect us, they don't touch our lives. Just because they don't touch our lives directly doesn't mean they don't touch somebody else's life directly. And we're not the only person in the universe. We're not the only person that matters. Our families aren't the only person that matter. People that matter. Okay? So just because it doesn't touch my life directly doesn't mean it doesn't touch my life indirectly. all the people that I purchase groceries from, all the businesses I need to support my life, all of the services I need to support my life. All of those things touch my life indirectly. So what 2020 did was it came to us and it said, hey, we got a problem here. We've got a big, fat, huge problem. And until we address it, things aren't going to get better. They're just going to be okay, but not really okay. They're going to be okay enough to say they're okay. So it brought out all the ugly. It brought it all out, right out into view, right where we can all see it. It put it right out there. And that is important because just like in our lives, if we don't look at those issues, if we don't deal with those issues, and not just look at them, deal with them, identify them, but then we do the hard work. We do that ugly, hard, difficult work that we don't want to do, whether it's getting a divorce and working on our independence, whether it is going through grief counseling or really looking at our feelings and talking about, why this loss was important to me, whether it is with a job loss, getting that resume together, getting those, redefining who you might be and what other job you might do. If we don't do the hard work in our lives, we will always be at this spot that's not okay, that's not healthy, that's not thriving. So 2020 brought it out, identified it for us. Hey, look, we've got a problem. And then 2020 forced us to do this hard work, forced us to do it. And we saw the worst in each other. But then we saw the best in each other. We saw people buying groceries for other people. We saw, remember toilet paper hoarding? We saw people giving friends and family and neighbors rolls of toilet paper. We saw friends and family and neighbors saying, hey, calling, this is such an old-fashioned thing, but calling and or texting and saying, hey, I'm at the store. What can I get for you? For people who didn't feel comfortable going to the store. We saw people lifting each other when they were struggling with jobs. We saw people finding jobs for each other. We saw during all the racial protests, we saw racial injustice protests, we saw numbers and numbers and numbers of people going out into the streets saying we've got a problem and this is wrong and we're not okay with it and we don't want this anymore. We saw people sticking up for each other. That's a thing my mom used to say, when I was little. You have to stick up for your sisters. You have to stick up for your friends. You have to stick up for each other. And we saw people out in the streets sticking up for each other. We saw that. We had quiet time to be alone with our thoughts. Yeah, we were isolated for a little while. Yeah, we were quarantined. But we had quiet time to be alone with our thoughts. We learned how nice it is to cook at home again. We learned to conserve a little because we didn't want to be shorted of any groceries or toilet paper or products. We learned to conserve resources. We learned to enjoy some quiet times with jigsaw puzzles or books or with our families. We learned that some of our frenetic activities and ways don't necessarily have to be that they're created. Think about the morning commute and working at the office, and all of a sudden everybody was working from home that could. Everybody who had that kind of a job could do it and could do it. What we're doing it. So we learned to slow down a little. We learned to slow down, to enjoy each other's company. We learned to look forward to each other's company rather than thinking, oh my God, she's coming. Oh my God, I'm going to have to talk to her. we learn to enjoy that, to look forward to that. We slowed down a little. We learned that we are important to each other. We learned that we do exist for each other. We learned that we can help each other, offer resources, and it doesn't harm us, it lifts us. So rather than being hoarding and being selfish and being within ourselves, throwing ourselves out there only builds us, lifts us, and grows our hearts and our lives. Am I thankful for, am I not thankful for 2020? I'm not thankful for a lot of things that happened in 2020. I'm not going to gloss over all the lives that were lost from COVID. I'm not going to gloss over, all of the anxiety and depression and mental health issues that have happened. I'm not going to gloss over the fact that there are a lot of families home during quarantine that were dealing with abuse or neglect of children or hunger, poverty. I'm not going to gloss over any of that. But am I thankful and feeling blessed that we had this experience? I am, because we learned it's not about the stuff. It's not about it's not about anything else. You know what it is? It's about you and me and us. And we can be on this side of the political spectrum and that side of the political spectrum. We can be on this side of the issue, that side of the issue. And that's happened, and we've seen that. But what we've learned is that these things can happen. They do exist. But bottom line, if I don't love you and you don't love me, and we don't find a way to lift each other and support each other, then nothing else really matters. And 2020 gave us that in a very tangible way. It gave us that in a very real, very beautiful, very tangible way. So, I love you. I know that you're here for me. And I'm so glad that we had this experience together, because I can't wait to see what new life comes from this. I can't wait to see what new way of living and lifting comes from this. I'm looking forward to 2021, and I'm super thankful for 2020 for giving us the gift of each other. Leave in the comments if you're still struggling with anything. I would love to talk you through it, and leave any gratitude you want down there too. All right, I love you. I'm here for you. Go throw that gorgeousness of yours out at the world. We need more of that.